This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Search continues. Efforts to find two missing children in Pictou County stretch into day 5. Confirmed. Nova Scotia reports its first case of measles this year. And growing success. How a community garden in Halifax successfully uprooted after losing its space.
Our next system rolling in overnight in through Wednesday with showers, the risk for thunder showers and fog patches. Your full forecast is coming up.
The search for two missing children in rural Pictou County is now into its 5th day, and there's still no sign of 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan. The siblings went missing last Friday morning when it's believed they strayed from their home in Lansdowne Station. CBC's Preston Mulligan joins us now live from the search area with the latest on the efforts. Preston.
Good evening, Tom. Well, as you said, yes, as we near the end of day 5 in the search for these two young children, sadly, there is still no good news report. The RCMP held a news conference a couple hours ago to give us an update. Basically, there's not much else to say other than the search for Lily and her brother Jack continues here and around these woods, in these deep woods in the Lansdowne area, just about 20 kilometers south of New Glasgow. Now, during that news conference, they did talk a bit about the resources they have in the air that are looking for these children. They talked about how the drones work. They have drones in the sky at night and at daytime. They have infrared sensors that are able to detect heat on the ground. But regardless of the number of drones, the search and rescue officials and the dogs that are combing through the woods, not to mention the helicopters that we hear constantly flying overhead, still no sign of the children. Hundreds of search and rescue personnel from all over the province are still here. Many of them have been combing through the woods here for about 5 days, taking time off from their jobs, their personal lives, and RCMP say they're getting exhausted.
Exhaustion and optimism, right? We want to bring these two children home to their parents. We've got people who've been here since day one, since the first time the call came in. So they're tired and they're optimistic. They have one job. This is all search and rescue does, is they try to bring people home safely. So they're trying to stay on focus. They're trying to stay on mission. They're sacrificing their personal lives. They're sacrificing a lot to be here to try to help this family out, to bring these two children home.
Now, RCMP Search and Rescue are still working under the assumption that the 4- and 6-year-old wandered away from the home in Lansdowne, just south of New Glasgow, on Friday morning. Today, some of the family members walked me through into that wooded area directly adjacent to where they live, maybe 20-second walk from the home into the woods. And as you walk into the woods, there's a little, kind of a tree fort, a little lean-to, and that's where the kids would play. And the family around there say they find it very hard to believe that, given how thick the brush is on some of the steep banks around that area, and just the difficulty moving around if you sort of leave that trail, how difficult they find it to believe that they could have gone anywhere deeper than that into the woods.
No idea. I had no idea. I'm still searching every day. I'm waiting for information. I have to let them do a lot of their stuff with the aircrafts and everything else, and dogs and searchers. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be coordinated, and I can't just go running through the woods. I want to, but I just can't right now because the search is just so far out.
And so, Tom, we're just about 1 kilometer away from where the command site was, and where that command site is, RCMP are leading that investigation, but they're on the search and rescue operation. Running in tandem and kind of parallel is kind of a missing persons investigation that the RCMP is involved in as well. And so as those investigators glean new information based on interviews, maybe they'll find a piece of clothing from home and they'll bring it to the search and rescue site. Any new information, they'll bring it to the search and rescue site, and then they will modify their search and adapt their search and sort of fine-tune their search based on what the investigators might find out. But in spite of all of this, after 5 days, still no sign of the two children that we've been told of, and we're told that the search will continue into the night, again as per usual, and again tomorrow morning if nothing's been found. Tom.
Yeah, difficult situation for sure. Thanks for that, Preston. The CBC's Preston Mulligan reporting live for us in Lansdowne Station. The RCMP has confirmed to CBC that they have enlisted 4 drone operators to help with the search. Preston mentioned that. The drones use something called forward-looking infrared technology to spot differences in temperature. We wanted to find out more about that technology and how it works and how it may be helping in the efforts to find Lily and Jack. The CBC's Cassidy Chisholm reports.
When someone goes missing, search and rescue teams kick into high gear, and new technology is starting to be used across the country to help in these searches. The RCMP have what's called forward-looking infrared, or FLIR technology. It's a kind of thermal imaging that detects heat signatures. In cases of missing persons, it can be used to find body heat in a forest.
It's been an incredible tool for us. We've had at least 2 finds with thermal imaging of subjects, and it just gives us the ability to operate in the dark.
The technology is often attached to a remotely piloted aircraft or drone, so it can scan specific areas and feed that information back to the operator on the ground. The operator will then analyze the footage and identify certain colors that may or may not be the missing person. Baldwin says it works really well in the winter because a person's body heat stands out. But he says it's more challenging during the summer months.
As we move into spring, summer here, we will be relying more on our visual camera for searching because the treetops, rocks, things like that retain heat, and they are very close in temperature to a person, and it makes it very hard to distinguish what you're looking at in the image.
Baldwin says the technology isn't capable of seeing heat underground or in the water, and tree cover can also hinder search efforts.
Drones are excellent for searching regions where it's hard to access on foot. Cliffy areas, steep drainages, but where their obstacles come in is actually the canopy of the trees, so how dense the forest is. As we move into the spring here, everything's greening up. That makes it harder to penetrate to the forest floor. So that's where it is possible to fly over someone and not see them.
So while the technology is a helpful tool, he says nothing will replace on-the-ground searchers.
The most success you have is people on the ground calling out and getting a response. That by far has been the most successful way we've found people. But why not have drones in the air? Why not have helicopters? Why not use every tool available? Because it just does increase your range and the number of eyes on the scene.
Cassidy Chisholm, CBC News, Halifax.
A fire that claimed the lives of 3 children in Lower Sackville in January has been ruled an accident following an investigation. Halifax Regional Fire and Emergencies report on the tragedy says the fire started in the basement TV room of the semi-detached dwelling on Riverside Drive. The ignition source was electrical. The report also notes there were no operating smoke alarms in the home. 5-year-old Kason Germain Loppy and 9-year-old sister Alana Marie Loppy and their 6-year-old cousin Chloe Margaret Greeno Steiger all died due to the fire. A separate report from the fire department ruled that a fatal fire on Thompson Street in Dartmouth also in January was also accidental. The report says the fire, which claimed 2 lives, started in the living room of the detached dwelling. The ignition source was electrical, and like the Lower Sackville fire, there was no operating smoke alarms. Nova Scotia is reporting its first case of measles this year. Dr. Robert Strang, Nova Scotia's Chief Medical Officer of Health, confirmed the case during a news conference today. He says the patient is an adult in Halifax who recently traveled to the United States. They went to the emergency department at the QE2 hospital on Sunday night. Strang says the patient had 1 dose of the measles vaccine but did not receive the second. He says people should not be alarmed by the situation.
The health system is well prepared. We need Nova Scotians. The preparation and defense that Nova Scotians can have is for all of us to make sure that we are protected through vaccine or for older natural immunity against measles. And that is what will protect us. We will get more cases of measles coming in from travel, but if we have high immunization rates, it will not spread.
Strang says anyone who is unsure if they had a second measles vaccine should go get a booster, as there is no harm in getting a second shot. Over the past few weeks, he estimates 2,000 Nova Scotians have been vaccinated. And now with our first look at the weather forecast, Ryan Snoddon joining us here in studio. Ryan.
Hey, Tom. Yeah, looking at the forecast for tomorrow, turning damp. Showers on tap, cloud cover, still mild though. That's a little bit of a silver lining. As you can see, temperatures will be between 14 and 18, 19 degrees for most of us, so mid to high teens. Those fog patches rolling in tonight, drizzle, and then showers marching in really from west to east late overnight and in through the Wednesday morning time frame. And you can see this will continue to push in. There's actually a risk of a couple of rumbles of thunder within these lines of showers that will be pushing in. And with that, we'll likely see some higher pockets. By the time we get to Thursday morning, we're looking at 5 to 10 millimeters in the northeast, 10 to 20 millimeters in the southwest, with some pockets possible in the 30 to 40 millimeter range. And then that line will continue to kick out. Thursday, back into a few sunny breaks with just an isolated chance for a shower, a break on Friday, and then another system looming for the weekend as the active pattern continues. Tom, your 7-day forecast is coming up in a few minutes.
All the details in just a few minutes. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
Witnesses at a legislative committee today expressed concerns about the misuse of fixed-term leases by some landlords to get around the province's rent cap and evict tenants. But there were differing views on how government should respond. The Associate Deputy Minister of Service Nova Scotia says officials strive to find a balance between protecting the rights of tenants and landlords, and they weigh any changes carefully.
Our response to that is, do we make a legislative change that could be that could last for many, many years in a very dynamic market? We're waiting to see. Given that there have been market changes recently and vacancy rates are improving, without wanting to make a permanent change in legislation that could have unintended impacts later.
O'Toole could not provide any examples of what those unintended consequences might be, but a representative for Dalhousie Legal Aid says there is only one explanation for government inaction.
We're allowing landlords to do this because it's a handout to landlords. They're clearly listening to the interests of landlords over and above those of tenants.
Opposition MLAs are calling on the government to have legislation ready for the next session at Province House to address the issue. Nova Scotia Health says the emergency department in Bedeque will remain closed until it can find doctors willing to take ER shifts. The province turned the emergency department into an urgent treatment centre more than 2 years ago, saying it was just a temporary move. The province says it needs at least 2 doctors trained and willing to take emergency shifts before Bedeque's ER can reopen. It also says the hospital has 5 nurse vacancies, but it is using travel nurses for now to fill shifts. A brand new community garden is beginning to take shape in North End Halifax after its members raised thousands of dollars to build it. As Gareth Hampshire tells us, they're doing it after losing access to the previous location they had for about 20 years.
This is the new location for the Prescott Street Community Garden Society. The members and their friends and family are getting everything ready for planting season.
It's great to dig in the dirt again, and I'm eager to plant some things and get that started, because now's the time, really, in the end, June, July, yeah.
They moved to Merv Sullivan Park after having to leave their nearby Roby Street location, where Halifax Water are planning upgrades and the site is now fenced off. But after raising nearly $15,000 to pay for new garden beds, soil and materials, they're making a fresh start.
It's totally turned around from 2 years ago, from when we were very sad that we were losing our garden. But now it's looking really good.
The group has had a lot of help too. Halifax Water is donating 2 big water tanks. Carpentry students from the Nova Scotia Community College built the new shed, and grants from the province and the city helped cover some of the costs.
It addresses basic food insecurity, and people can grow their own, and it's all around, and it's good exercise. It's good. It's good mentally. Working in the garden feels good.
They're hoping to install about 40 raised beds in total, including some accessible ones. That's up from around 25 at the old site, allowing more people to grow their own food.
It's really nice that we all started from the scratch together, from like empty field to getting all the garden beds, how we want to plant, and like high beds, low beds, like what kind of wood, like just every details, like we did it together.
Moving this much soil is hard work, but the camaraderie is one of the reasons people are involved with the group.
There's always people to talk to, and it becomes social because we have little gets-togethers and cook and share our recipes and share our food.
Now most of the setup work is done, the non-profit's members are looking forward to planting. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.
The Alert Ready National Emergency Alerting System will be tested tomorrow across every province and territory except Quebec. Text messages will be sent to all televisions, radios, and compatible wireless devices at various times. Those in Nova Scotia will hear and see the test at 1:55 p.m. local time. The test will simulate an emergency alert. However, it will indicate that it is a test and will require no further action. The system is checked once or twice per year, including in May during Emergency Preparedness Week. An iconic painting is back home in Cape Breton after a century away. Miners' Houses was painted in the spring of 1925 during the coal miners' strike. It's now back on the island to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Davis Day. The CBC's Kyle Moore has a story.
It's a rare glimpse into a time of rising tension and change in coal mining. Miners' Houses Glace Bay is a painting by Lorne Harris. Its usual home is at the Art Gallery of Ontario. But until June 28th, it's on display at the Eldwig Art Centre in Sydney.
For me, it has a very eerie, subtle feel to it of knowing the background and the history of it.
Painted in the spring of 1925 during the coal miners' strike, it's the first time seeing it for coal miner Kevin Edwards, who worked underground at number 26. Right away, he felt a connection.
It means so much to not only to the coal mining industry, but to the labor movement and basically human rights. And it's I get goosebumps just thinking about it, and it really touches the heartstrings.
Dust in the air, all through the mine. It's concrete on your lungs, and you're old before your time.
The painting is in town to mark the centennial year of Davis Day. Bill Davis was shot dead by company police in Waterford Lake outside New Waterford during the miners' strike in 1925. The day recognizes the many lives lost in coal mines across the province.
It's very, in some ways, sobering and dark. And of course, it has icons that we connect with through the company houses, through the painting being on the edge of the continent, and of course these beautiful oranges that really speak to twilight time here.
Melissa Carney is responsible for bringing the painting to Cape Breton. She says since it arrived, it has attracted many people to the Arts Centre.
People are very wowed and touched that we've been able to bring it here. There's been some tears and a lot of quiet reflection on the story.
Quiet reflection for a painting Carney says many in Cape Breton deserve the opportunity to see. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
And as we head to break, a beautiful picture of another kind, that is Guysborough. Ryan back with the full weather forecast in just a few moments. All right, well, you know what they say in the Maritimes. If you don't like the weather, wait an hour or a day or whatever, it's going to change. Unfortunately, it is going to change because it's been nice this last little while.
Yeah, nice couple of days, but already the clouds building in and the fog already pushing in as well.
That'll change the way things feel.
Definitely, and a very foggy setup for tomorrow across the province, but especially along the Atlantic coastline, where we're already seeing that. This is a quarter deck resort.
Oh, yeah. Pretty clear. The fog's coming in now.
Yeah. South Shore is where it always comes in first, typically with this type of a setup, and that is what we're going to be seeing, already seeing there, and that fog will continue to roll in for tonight. Showers moving in from west to east, drizzle ahead of that main line. Note the temperatures out there right now, not too bad in the north, where the sun's still breaking through. Amherst, Pictou, Antigonish, Ingonish Beach are hot spot right now at 19 degrees. Sydney's at 15. And again, those winds in from the south near 20 kilometers per hour. We are seeing some gusts upwards of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. Let's have a look at the weather systems. And this is the frontal boundary, the warm front that is pushing in, and this moist flow coming in with that fog. And we're going to be seeing the drizzle. As we said, the showers will crawl in from west to east through tonight. On the back side of this system, still seeing some showers and some cooler air that will wrap in temporarily. And then we are looking at this next system brewing already. That's our weekend weather maker. And you can see temperatures kind of all over the place across the U.S. right now. 7 in Denver, the cooler spot sticking out, but 33 at Brownsville, 34 at Orlando. Temperatures right near 20 in through Alberta right now. And as we look at the temperatures across the province for tonight, for our forecast temperatures, we'll be in that 6 to 10 range for most places. Down to 5 for Cape Breton with the winds from the southeast there near 10 to 20. Everywhere else, the wind kind of sustained near 20 with some gusts towards 30 and 40 kilometers per hour. Watch the timeline here. So late evening, this is for the most part drizzle and then showers kind of marching in from west to east. Late overnight into the Wednesday morning time frame, marching into central. It looks like a pretty quiet start and won't rule out a couple of sunny breaks for Cape Breton, though a chance for some drizzle and fog patches early on in the morning. And then the chance for showers will push into Cape Breton into the afternoon. Widespread showers here across Nova Scotia for Wednesday. And again, we're looking at that shower activity to continue even into the evening time frame. And should mention, there is a risk for a rumble of thunder embedded within these showers that are going to be pushing in. Temperatures in onshore winds will be near 9 and 10 degrees, but inland, we're going to push into the 14, 15, 16, 17 range for Cape Breton. Warmest from Port Hood up through Cheticamp and around the bend into Ingonish. 17 in through Antigonish as well. Temperatures will be cooler along the Atlantic coastline tomorrow, not surprisingly with this onshore flow. So the metro area will likely to be near 14, but we're going to march up towards 16 and 17 and even 18 degrees for Colchester, Cumberland, Pictou County, and back in and around the Cobequid Bay area, we should be around 15 to 16 degrees. Showers on tap for the valley tomorrow as well. Not sure why those little icons aren't populating there, but you can see temperatures, will flirt with 20 in through the valley tomorrow. Half that temperature down through the South Shore in places like Liverpool in those onshore winds if your feet are in the water. Now, as we look at the timeline here, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, that line will march eastward. Now, by the time we get to Thursday, still a lingering band here, I think, for Cape Breton and the eastern part of the mainland, but that is expected to move out Thursday afternoon. As I mentioned earlier, by the time we're said and done, looks like 5 to 10 millimeters in the northeast part of the province, 10 to 20 millimeters in through the south, including the metro area, but I do think we'll see the potential for some heavier pockets in the 30 to 40 millimeter range in that southwest corner of the province by the time we get to Thursday. Thursday, yes, the potential for some sun breaks, and with that, temperatures should pop pretty nicely. Still mild, so 16 to 20 degrees, and a couple of spots, 21, 22, especially towards the northeast, and then that system will move out. Friday looks pretty quiet, but a bit of a northerly flow will keep things a bit cooler. And then that next system brewing for the weekend. Late day shower risk for Friday. Showers looking set for Saturday. Mother's Day on Sunday. Tom, fingers and toes crossed. The things will clear out for the mums on Sunday afternoon.
Fingers are crossed. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, data breach. A cybersecurity expert says Nova Scotia Power could be dealing with a serious ransomware attack and customers should take precautions. Last week, Nova Scotia Power told the public it was coping with a cybersecurity incident. Now it says some customers' personal information was taken by an unauthorized third party. The company is now trying to figure out whose data has been stolen. Claudia Popa is CEO of Data Risk Canada and is a leading expert in cybersecurity in this country. Sir, we don't know a lot of the details about this data breach at Nova Scotia Power, but from what we do know, how serious do you think this cybersecurity incident is?
So without creating any kind of fear, I think it's always a significant situation when you have a security incident at a power company or at utility. Utilities are very sensitive organizations. They are important. They are part of critical infrastructure in our country. And there's a lot of interest both within Canada and even more from outside Canada to figure out how they work, what kind of sensitive information they store, and how their operations can be impacted.
Okay, I'm sure the utility is working feverishly behind the scenes here, but in terms of communicating with the public, how much should the utility be telling people at this point?
Well, transparency is key because the stakeholders here are citizens. These are individuals whose personal information has ostensibly been stolen. It's been taken, and that much has been confirmed. We don't really know who was impacted. The organization said that those impacted will be contacted directly. That presents a bit of a risk because we know from past breaches that one of the first things that criminals do when they steal a lot of information is they impersonate the organization and they try to reach out to victims first in order to get them to click on links, perhaps infect their own computers, or even intimidate them into paying some amounts of money or extort them in any other way.
And so how do you define this? Is this a ransomware attack, identity theft? Or, I mean, are there telltale signs here?
We don't have evidence that it's any one of those things. We've only been told that there was an indication of unusual behavior. It turned out to be a breach. The information appears to have been taken. We know that this was not an accident. We know that this was a criminal act and that data belonging to individuals was stolen. So that in itself is a lot of information that tells us that this information has value and it'll be monetized by criminals in some way, shape, or form. In the days to come, it'll probably be appearing on some kind of a dark web marketplace. It takes some doing to slice and dice it in order to make it appealing to those who specialize in a particular kind of individual profile, such as seniors or young people who have just moved into an area, or professionals, etc. Right? There's various types of cyber criminals who specialize in selling these things or buying these things and using them to some extent. But if it's not a ransomware attack, it could simply be a false flag and they took the information to make it look like something else. Perhaps additional sensitive information was taken. Again, there's always a risk of cyber espionage, of stealing very sensitive intellectual property or even operational details from utilities in Canada. These are not mutually exclusive, so that's why I say this is a fairly serious situation, and people should have an interest in it, but they should not panic.
To the best of our knowledge, the grid has not been affected. Might it be at risk?
Oh, absolutely. It's all about the information that has been accessed. Chances are no such information was accessed. We don't know yet. We don't know whether an extortion note was presented to the organization and whether they even decided to negotiate with the attackers. These are possibilities. Generally speaking, the process of responding to a breach is to connect with a breach coach. These are provided by insurance companies, and those breach coaches take control of the process while a forensic investigation takes place internally to understand more about the breach itself. We don't know what stage these two parts of the incident response process are at, but we do know that there's a lot of interest on the part of individuals who simply need to know what aspects of their personal information has been taken, because that will tell us what kind of compromises they might be at risk of.
Okay.
So there might be identity theft or fraud or intimidation, etc.
And so while whatever is happening behind the scenes happens, how do customers protect themselves? I mean, and if customers can't access the company website, which we're hearing some people are having difficulty with, what are the customers to do?
Yeah, clearly the 1-800 line and the websites are deluged with interest. So people need to understand, simply by looking at their bill, they need to understand what information has been taken. So name, address, phone number, so contact information for sure, possibly billing information would have been taken. I don't know whether social insurance numbers or any health data would be part of that. I doubt it. That was a more serious breach that occurred 2 years ago in the same province in Nova Scotia as part of a government agency's breach. We don't have any idea whether these are related, nor am I suggesting such a thing. But if individuals want to take the extra step of changing passwords on their NSP account, if their credit card number is on file with NSP, they can consider that to be compromised and simply request a new credit card or a new debit card from the bank. And of course, look for opportunities to not just change passwords, but make them as long as possible, and also demand multi-factor authentication. Nowadays, it's the standard. You need to have a second factor, so a code on your phone or an authenticator app that can run on your smartphone that will give you an additional level of protection and prevent people from breaking into your account, even if they know your password.
All right, some good advice there. Appreciate your time on this. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
Coming up, high-stakes meeting. Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Washington for his first face-to-face with U.S. President Donald Trump. And electing a new pope, cardinals begin moving into the Vatican ahead of their historic papal conclave. Welcome back. High-stakes talks at the White House between Prime Minister Mark Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump have wrapped. It was the first face-to-face meeting between the two leaders since Carney's election victory last week. And after a campaign where Carney said he was the best leader to stand up to Trump. Rafi Boudjikanian has the details.
It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Mark Carney.
The Oval Office hot seat, where Prime Minister Mark Carney started off by earning praise for getting the Liberals back on government benches.
His party was losing by a lot, and he ended up winning, so I really want to congratulate him.
You're a transformational president, focus on the economy.
But both men downplayed expectations they would find common ground on trade as easily as they exchanged those compliments.
This is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved.
Carney and the Canadian delegation remaining largely quiet as the president rattled off some of his rhetoric that has so angered this country over the last couple of months.
We want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things.
But the Prime Minister did push back on one point.
Mr. President, you have said that Canada should become the 51st state.
Yeah.
No. Well, I still believe that, but you know, takes two to tango, right?
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
Uh,
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale.
But never say never. Never say never.
Trump himself more audibly negative over the other major irritant in the relationship between the two countries since he reclaimed the presidency.
Is there anything he could say to you in the course of your meetings with him today that would get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
Carney was eager to paint a positive picture after the meeting.
I look forward, not back, and I think we established a good basis today. As I said before I came here, I wouldn't have expected white smoke coming out of this meeting.
Some next steps will hinge on the key ministers Carney appoints to the Canada-US file. He's expected to announce his cabinet next week and says talks with Trump will continue when he visits this country during the G7 next month. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
Israel has approved plans to seize the Gaza Strip and remain there for an unspecified amount of time. The new plan comes amid increasing concern it will exacerbate an already dire humanitarian crisis in the Palestinian territory. The CBC's Anna Cunningham reports.
Israel's fresh military plans for Gaza go beyond anything it's outlined recently.
Not occupation, the expanding and holding of territories and moving the Gazan population south for its own defence and denying Hamas the ability to capture humanitarian supplies.
There's been mixed messages today from Hamas, with one senior official saying the group is no longer interested in truce talks, whilst another says Hamas is open to a long-term truce of 5 to 7 years with Israel. Either way, Israel is now calling up tens of thousands of its reservists. The US President Donald Trump is due to visit the Middle East next week. Some analysts suggest this could be an opportune moment to get ceasefire negotiations going again. But on the ground in Gaza, there is increasing concern about the humanitarian situation. Israel says its new plan does include aid hubs based in Rafah in the south, run by private companies. But take a listen to the view on that from Jens Lercher, spokesperson for the UN's humanitarian agency, OCHA.
It appears to be a deliberate attempt to weaponize the aid. There's a desperate need for food getting in. They're getting bombs. They need water. They're getting bombs. They need healthcare. They're getting bombs. They need shelter. They're getting bombs, and so on.
Outside of Gaza in Yemen today, thick black smoke was seen rising over the capital, Sana'a. Israel's army says its air force hit Houthi targets at the airport and power stations in retaliation for a missile strike fired towards Ben Gurion Airport near Tel Aviv Monday by the Iran-backed Houthis. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
Cardinals are gathered at the Vatican to elect a new head of the Catholic Church. Many in Canada hope that the next pope will build on the predecessor's approach to Indigenous people. In 2022, Pope Francis had apologized for the conduct of some members of the Catholic Church in residential schools. Juanita Taylor reports from Vatican City.
There's a sense of anticipation here in Rome. This morning, the College of Cardinals met for the last time before voting begins, and people from around the world have come to find out who they will pick, including Canadians.
I do want a Catholic Italian pope, though.
I want to see a Catholic church where I'm proud to be a member of, and that means that we're all loved and that we're all equal.
There were 133 cardinals from 71 countries voting, mostly selected by Francis himself, the most diverse ever, like this cardinal from Chile. He says he's grateful to be here and is excited to participate in the conclave.
How can we have a new pope who also captivates hearts?
Austin Ivory wrote 2 biographies of Pope Francis.
And I think the world is looking for a peacemaker, a prophet, somebody who embodies, who's a friend of the poor, who is a prophetic sign of hope in a world which badly needs it.
But there is also a feeling of expectation, uncertainty.
I want to see action. We Indigenous people are done with words.
This residential school survivor says the next pope needs to do more for Indigenous people, including releasing archival records from that legacy.
Well, I want the pope that's going to be chosen to not have a record of any allegations of child sexual abuse. I want him to have a clean slate.
This Dene elder led a delegation from the Northwest Territories to the Vatican to meet with Francis in 2022 and ask for an apology for the harms the church caused.
He really was very compassionate.
Antoine is optimistic the next pope will, like Francis, be engaging.
I hope that the next pope would be someone that would be progressive, someone that could be able to work with our people.
And given the shape and size of this College of Cardinals, any outcome is still possible as they get to work choosing the next pope. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Vatican City.
Defense lawyers for one of 5 of Canada's World Junior hockey players accused of sexual assault spent the day cross-examining the complainant. Ali Chiasson has more from outside the courthouse in London, Ontario, and a warning some may find the details of this case disturbing.
Day 2 of cross-examination, and Michael McLeod's defense attorney David Humphrey questions EM's comfortability dancing and hanging out with the hockey players at the bar that night in June of 2018. Humphrey said, "I suggest you liked the attention from Mr. McLeod and his friends." EM testified, "It was confusing for me because I'm not used to that kind of attention at the bar." Humphrey also alleges that at the hotel, after having consensual sex with McLeod, that EM asked for the others to join. Humphrey said, "I suggest you said something like, 'Get some of those guys back here, I want to have a wild night.'" EM responded, "That doesn't sound like something I would say." We spoke with defense lawyer Ingrid Grant. She's not involved in this case, but she says this could be the defense's counter-narrative.
The counter-narrative has to be, well, she wanted the other people to be there, and they're clearly trying to build on that.
Cross-examination continues tomorrow. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, London, Ontario.
Millions of birds migrating north pass through southwestern Ontario in spring, but with avian flu spreading in the U.S., researchers here are tracking the virus and learning more about how it spreads. The CBC's Jennifer Lagrassa reports.
Once a week, Cam Chevalier gathers water samples at 10 different spots along the northern shore of Lake Erie in southwestern Ontario.
It's all about public health, making sure that we're aware of what could be threats to public health.
That potential threat, highly pathogenic avian influenza, also known as bird flu. It's a contagious and often deadly viral infection that can impact all types of birds. Millions of birds in Canada and the United States have already died because of it.
Essex County lies at the crux of 2 major migratory flyways, and so we see a passage of millions of migratory birds.
Chevalier then brings the water samples to researchers at the University of Windsor, where they'll check for the virus.
For a virus that is carried principally by birds, this makes Essex County a hotspot for understanding which species of birds move into our region, whether they carry the virus, whether they shed that virus into our waterways so that we can detect it.
And track any changes to its structure, which is what this chemistry professor and his team are doing.
Monitoring the changes and seeing whether those changes that we would expect could lead to human transmission is, what we're looking at right now.
While they've found avian influenza in some of the collected samples, they haven't spotted any unusual mutations. The virus has already mutated, and it's been able to infect cows along with some people. For now, there's been no reported spread between people.
What people fear is that because the virus is constantly changing, at some point there will be changes in the virus that will allow an infected person to transmit that sort of altered virus into other people. And then that virus could be the start of like an outbreak or even a pandemic.
And while Ng says that we're not there yet, he points to research like this as being essential to help officials prepare in the case that the disease takes flight. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor, Ontario.
Canada's main stock index ticked higher today amid strength in the energy sector, while U.S. markets fell. Here's a look at where things closed as we head to commercial break. All right, so often this time of year in Nova Scotia, it seems we're dueling with the fog bank offshore, and it looks like it's coming for a visit again.
Yeah, that's right. Fog rolling in as we speak, and it's going to be a foggy Wednesday and a damp Wednesday. Clouds, showers, drizzle, and even a risk of a thunderstorm, believe it or not. And so we'll run the greatest risk for that in the west and into central. Have a look at our viewer picture of the day. And have a look. This is such a great shot. This one taken at Alderney Landing. You know where that big flag is?
Yeah, it's
It is
beautiful.
a massive flag.
Great shot of it right through. Would you call that a sundog?
That's a sundog.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sundog behind a Canada flag. Terrific. Sandy Johnson, perfect framing on that one. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. And have a look at the forecast for tomorrow. So yes, indeed, it's clouds, it's showers, it's drizzle. And the fog patches we'll see, especially along the Atlantic coastline. Temperatures between 14 to 18 for most, a little cooler along the Atlantic coastline. We'll flirt with 20 in through the valley and up towards Cumberland County in the Amherst area for tomorrow. But it is definitely going to be comfortable. Now for Thursday, comfortable temperatures as well. In fact, even warmer. Looks like we'll range between about 16 to 20. Warmest, again, inland and away from the onshore flow, which will be from the southwest. These temperatures really hinging on the fact that sunshine will break into the afternoon, and it does appear to be the case. But sun just so important this time of year for those temperatures. There's the timeline again as that line of rain tracks in. We'll see some breaks into the afternoon, but it does look like kind of pushing back in a stronger line towards the evening and overnight. Lingering showers into Friday or into Thursday rather. Late day showers Friday and into Saturday, Tom, as things stay unsettled.
Yeah, showers on the board. Okay, Ryan, thanks so much. King Charles and Queen Camilla have unveiled their new coronation portraits at London's National Gallery. There you go. The King's painting includes the imperial crown on a table next to him. He's wearing his robe of state as well as his naval uniform with medals. The Queen is depicted in her coronation dress featuring silver and gold embroidered floral designs.
Tuesday marks the second anniversary of the coronation. The commissioned portraits will remain there until June the 5th before being moved to their permanent home in the throne room of Buckingham Palace.
There you go. That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.